Hi, this is a quick video review of the Rack Stash hitch rack holder. This is what comes in the package. You've got the Rack Stash itself, you've got some instructions. You really don't need them, it's a very simple installation. And then you've got the hardware over here. People online commented that it is high quality hardware, and that does appear to be the case. It looks like it's decent hardware. Let's talk about the Rack Stash itself. It's a very heavy-duty piece of gear. You know, it feels heavy in your hand. You know, the steel that the black part is made out of is pretty thick and you know, pretty strong, obviously. I'm assuming that all of these cutouts that you can see here, these are water jetted, and they're very nicely done. There's no burrs. It's really nicely cut. The whole thing is powder coated. In the middle here, these two aluminum blocks are anodized. So really well constructed unit overall. Basically what it is it's a unit that mounts on the wall, if you picture the wall being back here, and anything that fits into a 2-inch or a 1 1/4 inch receiver basically plugs into here so you can store it on the wall. It is adjustable. You've got these screws on the side here, and you basically unscrew them, and then these aluminum blocks here, they can flip around. They can just flip 180 degrees and get stuck back in. And you can accommodate either 1 1/4 inch or 2-inch you know, receiver items. And then basically on the top and the bottom, you've got these holes here, and then it's hard to see, but basically down here. And these are 1 1/4 inch and 2-inch down at the bottom to accommodate drawbars. So a really well thought out unit, really kind of nice. The other great thing about this is that if you've got, I'm going to be showing today mounting a bike rack, and it'll actually end up allowing you to use the bike rack as sort of a workstand too. So I'll show you that once I get it installed. Basically, installation is going to be very simple. It's really hard to see with me holding it here, but there's basically 3 holes in the back of the unit for the 3 bolts over here. Obviously, it has to be mounted into a stud so that it can hold the weight. But other than that, you know, very simple, straightforward installation. So let me talk to you, I'm going to switch angles here, and I'll talk to you a little bit about some installation considerations. Okay, this is the bottom of the bike rack that I'm going to be storing in the Rack Stash. You can see it's pretty long. Basically from, you know, kind of over here to the end of it's about 1 foot. So it's going to be sticking off the wall about 1 foot, and I've got a tiny 1-car garage, so I really don't have, you know, an entire section of wall that I can dedicate just to, you know, just to this. So basically, this is going to go over some things. It's gonna actually go over my my lawnmower, and I'll show you that in a second. But that's one sort of consideration is, you know, the stuff that you're putting in it. It's obviously going to stick out from the wall. So if you're looking for something to sort of just flush right up against the wall, you know, probably not it. But I don't know that there's anything that's going to solve that problem for you. So that's the bottom of what I'm putting inside. I'm going to show you where I'm mounting it. So I spin around here. You can see, you know, this is sort of the wall of my garage. I've got some stuff hung up. You know, I've got my lawnmower down here, and what I'm going to do, and I actually marked this ahead of time, but I'm going to basically come down here onto the wall, and it's very hard to see, but there's a line right there, and that's where I'm going to mount the Rack Stash. Or I guess I should phrase it that that's where the bottom of the bike rack is going to go. The Rack Stash is actually going to extend a little bit above and a little bit below that line, but that's more or less the center line. I'm fortunate here, and you can probably even see it in the video, the bumps in the wall. It's kind of an old beat-up garage, and that makes it really easy to find studs. Obviously, if your garage is cleaner and newer and nicer than mine, you're going to need a stud finder to find the studs. It obviously has to go into the studs. But basically, you know, so I've marked it on the stud, and that's kind of the height that I want. And the way that I determined this height was 2 things. Number one, I've got to be able to get the lawnmower out. And the way that I have this set up, you can see over here, I don't have a lot of space, so I kind of have to, you know, I got to kind of lift the lawnmower and sort of shimmy it out. And so I needed enough vertical clearance underneath the Rack Stash to be able to sort of lift this up and kind of shimmy it out. So that was one consideration. The other consideration was that if I want to use, if I swing back around here, this Thule rack, it's a pretty common rack. It's got the arms that fold out, and that's going to allow me to use it as a workstand, and I wanted the height to be sort of a comfortable working height with me standing up. And it turns out that if I put this mount the rack stash here, that gives me enough sort of clearance over the lawnmower that I can get the lawnmower out, and it also turns out to be a really, really good working height. The other nice thing about this is that you can see I've got the bike pump, I've got the sprayer stored on the wall, and the two-lay rack actually sticks out far enough that it's really not going to conflict with these things. So I can store stuff both below the where the rack is going to go, and also behind it because of how it kind of sticks out. All right, let's talk real quickly about the installation. I'm going to need both hands, so I'm not going to be videoing that. But installation is very, very simple. You're basically putting, the 3 pieces of hardware through the holes in the back of the unit into a stud in the wall. So it really couldn't get much simpler. To complete the installation, you're going to need the 1/4-inch bit to drill some pilot holes. I've got a 9/16 deep socket on the impact driver here. Deep socket will allow you to kind of get all the way to the back of it like that. Obviously, you don't need an impact driver. You can use a regular socket wrench, would be just fine. But I'm lazy, so I'm going to be doing it this way. And then I've got my level over here. I'm going to use the level to mark a level vertical line on the wall, so that I drill everything in a straight line, and the rack stash, when it's actually mounted on the wall, is vertical. So I'm going to basically do the entire installation, and then I'll sort of come back and show you what I've got. Alright, so there's the rack stash mounted on the wall. I can tell you with all 3 of those bolts secure now, it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's rock solid on the wall. So installation took all of about 5 minutes. Let me get some stuff and I'll put it in there and I'll show you how that works. Okay, here's the rack with stuff in it. You can see that it sticks out pretty far, so it clears my sprayer and the bike pump and all that stuff. If I come down here, everything's black, so it's hard to see, but I've got my 1 1/4-inch gooseneck drawbar and ball in the top part with the pin through it. And then for my wife's car, we just got it, so I've actually got a hitch ball and a pin lock coming. But basically this is a 2-inch drawbar down here, nice and secure on the bottom. Unfortunately, my wife's drawbar isn't long enough, so if I come around to the other side here, I won't be, the hole is actually in the middle here for the pin. So I'll have to kind of store the lock, I guess, inside the end here or something like that. But, it stores all this stuff, which is great. Bike rack is very, very secure on the wall, and overall I think it's going to be great. I'm going to try, again, I need 2 hands, so I'm going to stop filming for a second, but I'm going to try to kind of wiggle the lawnmower under here. We'll see if I got it high enough, and then I'll come back and I'll show you putting a bike on it. Okay, so my garage is really messy, I apologize, but this is sort of another nice feature of this setup and of storing the rack up off the ground. You can see I could very, very easily use this as a workstand, and like I said, the height that I mounted at lets me get the lawnmower very easily underneath it, as you can see, and it's also a pretty good working height for me. I could easily stand and work on my bike, and you can see I've just got the bike hanging on the rack, and it's nice and solid. It's not going anywhere. If it's not going to be as nice as a regular actual bike workstand, but especially if your bike has sort of the cables routed on the top of the top tube like this. I mean, this is great. There's really no work that you couldn't do on your bike. If you're just sort of a home mechanic with a setup like this. So this is sort of the other side benefit of getting this stuff up off the ground. So that's basically it. That's a review of the rack stash. So far, I mean, I just installed it, but I think that this is going to be a great addition to the garage and a good way to sort of keep things clean. And it gives me, as you can see, the ability to do a little work on the bike too. So thanks for watching. One other thing I wanted to point out real quickly is that you'll notice that I've got my drawbar and ball mounted such that the ball is actually facing away from the wall. The pictures on the internet show the ball, facing up or down or whichever direction they have it. The problem with that, though, is you can see the pin, if the ball were facing up, the pin would be facing into the wall and you wouldn't be able to store the pin that way. But, as you probably know, the receivers, the drawbars are square, so they go in any way you want. And since the rack sticks out so far, having the ball point out away from the wall is not that big of a deal. So just thought I would point that out.